Good evening, viewers, and a very warm welcome to the next episode of the Indian Lawyer Legal Tips. I am Sushila Ram Varma, Chief Consultant at the firm. Today, in view of the recent development in the Patanjali case at the Supreme Court of India, we have decided to touch upon the advertisement laws in India. We will explain what the advertisement laws say and how one can make a complaint if one feels an advertisement does not come within the scope and ambit of these laws. Advertisements in India are governed and regulated by a body called ASCI, which is Advertisements Council of India. This body ensures that advertisements which are published are not only regulated but also are decent and not misleading and that can cause harm to the public. Advertisements are governed by several laws in India. Some of these are touched briefly as it would become very lengthy if we dealt with all the laws that pertain to advertisements. One of the most common laws is the Consumer Protection Act of 2019 that deals with offensive or misleading advertisements that can harm a consumer. If such advertisements are published, then an action can be taken under the Consumer Protection Act and the court can direct that those advertisements be removed. In today's world, I would say the most effective advertisements are those that are shown on the television because they have a very large viewership. Now, these advertisements are controlled by an act called the Cable Television Networks Regulation Act 1995. This act ensures that all advertisements which are broadcasted on the television meet the standards of decency and are not misleading or affect any sect of the society. Cigarettes and alcohol are not allowed to be advertised on any form of media, be it the television, be it the newspaper or the social media. There is an act called the Cigarettes and Other Tobacco Products Act, COTPA, 2003, which prohibits or bans all advertisements pertaining to cigarettes or tobacco on any form of media, be it television or the written media. Another very important act that regulates the advertisement is an act called the Drugs and Magic Remedies Objectionable Advertisement Act 1954. This act regulates and prohibits advertisements that make false or misleading claims about the efficacy of drugs or their ability to cure certain disease. In fact, the Patanjali case comes within this act. Yet another very important act that governs the food world insofar as advertisements are concerned is the Food Safety and Standard Authority of India regulations. This act or regulation ensures that producers do not make advertisements that mislead the consumer on the nutritional or health benefits of foods that are advertised. Now, coming to the next very important topic, that is, what are the restrictions on the content of advertisements that are advertised in the public. The first I would say is misleading claims. Any advertisement that has a misleading information on the product or its results or its benefits will be deemed to be misleading and will be against the interest of the public and therefore asked to be removed by the authorities. Advertisements for products or services that impact public health and safety, such as the pharma, healthcare products and food items, are subject to very strict regulations. Advertisements which make false claims about the health benefits of products are bound to be struck off by the FSSAI and the Drug Controller General of India for being misleading or against public interest. Another criteria is the criteria of decency. All advertisements must adhere to the standards of decency and should not contain content that is deemed to be offensive, vulgar, or that can cause public outrage. Advertisements that contain sexually explicit or indecent content or promote violence or exploit cultural or religious sentiments are strictly prohibited by the law. Now, coming to another criteria, which I would say is an extremely important criteria, and that is child advertising. Advertisements that target the world of the child are subject to special regulations, as the child's mind is very fragile and can be affected or exploited by content that can be harmful. Hence, advertisements for children must be truthful, age appropriate, and should not encourage children to engage in unsafe behavior or make unreasonable demands to their parents. Another criteria is endorsements and testimonials that are given by the advertiser. The regulating body ensures that the testimonials or the endorsements that are given are transparent or are real, so that there is an authenticity in the endorsement given by the advertiser. Another criteria that has to be followed is comparative advertising. While India recognizes comparative advertising, it does not allow that the comparative advertisement should be misleading or should disparage a competitor's products or services. The last criteria would be a ban on alcohol and tobacco products. Advertisement of alcohol or tobacco products are strictly banned under the Indian context. Another question that is bound to crop up in the viewer's mind is that, is online advertising also regulated? The answer is yes, it is. The Information Technology Intermediary Guidelines and Digital Media Ethics Code Rules 2021 impose specific obligations on the digital media platforms and guidelines that have to be strictly followed in order to allow legal advertising. Viewers would obviously be interested in knowing what are the consequences of violating advertisement laws in India. The first would be warnings and notices that can be issued by the ASCI, that is the Advertising Standards Council of India, or the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, which will ask the advertiser to modify the advertisements that are there in the media. The second would be a demand that the advertisements that are there either online or on the media should be removed. The third would be that fines and penalties can be imposed by the authorities, that is the regulating authorities, for the ads which are not in compliance with the law. The next would be legal action taken by the authorities against the advertiser. Probably the most serious of all these steps that can be taken would be the ban on advertising. Once a ban is imposed by the authorities on any particular product, there's a lot of negative publicity that goes into this banning. This obviously would cause reputational damage, and in turn it could cause a loss of customers or a loss of brand or a loss of image, and in the long term the advertiser would suffer. Probably one of the most serious repercussions of removal of an advertisement from the media would be reputational damage. By this I would mean that the reputation of the advertiser goes through a very major setback. The brand or the image of the advertiser suffers a lot, and eventually this would result in loss of consumers. Now, how can individuals or organizations report misleading or offensive advertisements? Individuals and organizations can report misleading or offensive advertisements by approaching the Advertising Standard Council of India through its complaint portal, which is online. A complaint can be lodged on the ASCI's website, after which there is a complaints council which will take appropriate action and do what is necessary to remove the advertisement which is offensive or misleading. In recent times, one of the most important cases pertaining to false or misleading advertisement is the Patanjali case. This matter is currently pending in the Supreme Court of India. The Indian Medical Association had filed a case against Baba Ramdev and Acharya Balkishan for having besmeared or smear campaigned the COVID-19 vaccination that the government of India had introduced. The matter has come up several times before the court, and in a recent hearing that happened on the 16th of April 2024, Baba Ramdev and Acharya Balkishan were summoned by the Supreme Court of India to appear in person. They appeared in person and tendered an unconditional apology. However, no order has been passed so far, and the final order is yet to be passed by the Supreme Court of India. Let us see what happens in this matter. Our blog will obviously report this judgment. If you have found this episode of the Indian Lawyer Legal Tips useful, please like, share and subscribe to our channel and encourage us to make many more such informative videos. Thank you, and please visit us next week on the new episode.